Hello and welcome. I'll get right into it. We are no longer doing Dark Souls on this channel. I know that my life centers on work, school, and Dark Souls, but in a couple semesters, I'm no longer going to have school. And in an effort to prepare myself for when work is occupying 2/3 of my life, I need to cut the excess now to prepare my professional future for a potential shift in like what I'm capable of doing after I have the accreditation from a college. It's a I didn't realize it was so close. It is weird because I feel like I've been going to school for a long time, and at the same time, it feels like just yesterday I was getting out of the Navy. And so, like, just yesterday, there were people getting out of the Navy, and I find it hard to take enjoyment in Dark Souls in the way I was. And I think that it's not in a bad way. I think that when I started this playthrough, I was still maturing, and now I'm always going to be learning and growing, but I think that I understand what I would like to be doing, and playing Dark Souls is fun. But the game came out 14 years ago, and I mean, as fun as it is to explore the lore in an entirely unique way through the eyes of the chosen undead and trying to understand the positions of the lords relative to one another as, related through item descriptions and suppositions based on premises that mirror like other texts and sources. It's interesting to compile and look at, but when that project is finished, it doesn't deliver like something that I can then show and be like, I could do this to your video game. It definitely, like, I enjoy talking about Dark Souls. And so I guess that's kind of the I don't understand the function it serves in terms of preparing me for the things in my life that I'm about to be facing. Uh, Although at the same time, the things I've learned in Dark Souls somehow always directly correlate to my life. And Seath the Scaleless being the one who betrayed his own, and then me fighting him and then never getting to share the video of it feels like, I'm doing a little bit of a Seath the Scaleless on my audience for those who, fiddle with the Dark Souls lore and whatnot. But like, it's not intentional. I don't mean it in a way that like is some high level irony or anything. It Dark Souls holds a special place in my heart, and I'm always going to want to look at it in depth and in detail because when I first beat Dark Souls, I had left Washington for the first time. I was a 18-year-old, 19, fresh dropped out of college, and I thought Texas was the place for me. And so my brother and I had made plans. I was going to live with him for a little bit. And then after a while, I went out and found my own place. And in that apartment where I had sort of staked my own little piece of like Houston for myself, like, hey, I'm established. I got a place of my own. I pay rent. My $426 a month, and I got my washer and dryer that break down on every other use and flood my kitchen with water every week. But like the fun was making it work. And in those conditions of making work, like, Dark Souls is a blast. But the conditions we face now aren't really the conditions of making work, because work is always going to be there. We don't need to make work for ourselves anymore. And that's not to say Dark Souls is work, but I need to take my approach and shift it. And in order to do that, I just have to take a step back from it. And now, don't get me wrong, we're still, bringing about the Age of Dark and stuff. But I think it's the pressure I'm putting on myself that I just kind of want to relieve while I love making videos. I love sharing pieces of myself with you all. It's hard to do this and everything else all at once, and I know that I'm gonna have time for it all one day. It just, I don't know how I got so busy. All I wanted to do was play Dark Souls and talk about it. And then, I guess, you wind up at an improv to see your acting professor, and then you meet the twin sister of a lady who was at the improv workshop, and wind up in a girl gang, and then ultimately, like, build into a community of socialists that I think somewhere along the lines, playing Dark Souls helped me find a sense of purpose in the world. And it's not because it's Dark Souls, but it's because it helped me connect with something even when there wasn't much to connect with. The reason I don't talk about work isn't necessarily for, like, I don't want people to know where I work. It's much more, when I'm doing my YouTube, I like to not be hindered by the expectations of the world around me. And so once you start involving other people and relationships and dynamics and things, the complexity of the situation grows immensely. And so no longer does it become an accurate reflection of a single person's idea, but it instead becomes a collaborative effort. And there is a unique, like, appeal and quality and trait about that, but that isn't what I wanted to make when I, like, first was doing the video game and talking over it stuff. And I'm in a process of trying to find balance, and at the same time share the tools I have to maintain balance, while at the same time not effectively employing them and struggling. And it's not struggling in a bad way. And that's why I say we're no longer in the position that we need to be making work so that we have the habit of making work, so that making work is no longer challenging and boring, but rather something enjoyable and fun. It's when the work is ready to be done, what do we work for? And so that's the hope with, I guess, putting off Dark Souls, is maybe the motivation to play Dark Souls will help provide me the foundation to then make something worthwhile, so that I then have a platform to someday share the full story of Dark Souls. Because we can't get to it while I'm still growing, and, like, if I'm learning new things about Dark Souls, I'm not even ready to be telling the story of Dark Souls. You can't be learning while you're teaching. You have to be competent and knowledgeable, and you can't just read the chapters a week ahead. You probably can. I don't know, because honestly, if I were a teacher, I probably wouldn't even do the readings, and I would just pretend that I read it. And if a kid challenged me on it, I would say, "Hey, quit using ChatGPT on your homework," and then hope that they get real quiet, because sometimes, you know how kids, when they're, like, guilty, they just get quiet and whatever. Anyway, it's been really hard to play Dark Souls recently. That's what I wanted to share. School is going great, and I love my job. Work is going great. I just need to make room in my life to find enjoyment that isn't derived from me doing something that I can then frame to myself as being productive. I need to be able to find enjoyment just from the path that I'm on and walking that path. And so trying to, I guess, center the rest of my attention and perspective into a more focused point should, I don't know, help alleviate that. Or maybe it won't. And maybe I'll come on here next week and start talking about conservatives and red pills and wokies and stuff or whatever. It doesn't really matter because, again, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm hoping if you're here till the end that you dig my content because I dig having you around. And again, even though things aren't always good, there's a lot of good to be enjoyed about the things that are happening anyway. And I think it's hard to not like lose that, but you know, that's when we have to lay the dark soul to rest. Anyway, thanks for joining me. If you want to see me play Dark Souls, go ahead and get rid of this president. And if you don't want to see me play Dark Souls, I guess go fuck yourself. So, thanks for hanging out. Love you. Bye.